Okay, it's 5:30, so I'm gonna call the Ottumwa City Council meeting to order, and glad to see several people here this evening. Before we get into our city council meeting, however, we're gonna have a short Ottumwa Board of Health meeting. So I'm gonna go ahead and call the Ottumwa Board of Health meeting to order, and Chris will take the roll call.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Callaway. Here. Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Approve the minutes for meeting number 1 on February 4th, 2025 as presented. Recommendation, approve the minutes.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures of a property located at 953 Tuttle in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
I'll go ahead and open the condemnation hearing. I believe, Zach, you're gonna handle this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Council. The property at 953 Tuttle was placarded August 3rd, 2023, because the foundation is failing structurally. The owner of the placarded property, in the last couple of weeks has made arrangements. He feels he's able to demolish the property himself. They would like to complete that demolition rather than proceed with the condemnation. We asked the attorney, Dollars Cooney, to prepare the attached acknowledgement of public nuisance and agreement to abate. The terms provide for the owner to acknowledge the property is a public nuisance and to abate it by April 30th, 2025. The owners will also acknowledge that continuing to use the garage without a main building on the structure is a violation of the zoning code. The staff recommendation would be to allow them to sign that agreement, to have the mayor sign that agreement as well, or sorry, I think it's actually me, sign that agreement as well, and to execute that, and let them take it down. So.
Does council have any questions for Zach? Since this is a public condemnation hearing, is there anybody in the audience that would have anything they'd like to say regarding this property? If you would come to the podium and identify yourself and give your address, please.
So my name's David Lorzell. My address is 506 Wildwood Drive. This property is my property. The only other thing that, moving forward, I guess my consideration is on some of this too. Can we make sure we're bettering the community when we do this? Because I'm going to tell you in a 1 block area of where the house is at. I'm not saying the house is pretty. I understand that the foundation is failing. The house is also on block supports with beams under it. Nobody's going to get hurt on this premises. Try to have this conversation, goes nowhere. The city already owns at least 5 lots on 1 block south of this from this same aspect. What are we doing? The only thing that has happened down here, own that property between myself and my father-in-law. It's been over 25 years. He's the one that built the garage. Never had a vandalism problem until the last 6 months when we started condemning all these properties in this area. We've put placards on the side of houses and told everybody come get it. Just keep that in mind when we're going forward with some of this stuff. What are we gonna do with this? Because then that's my next question is with part of this is, I will take it down. Now I have to try to move a garage or sell a garage house because these lots in this area are also 50 foot wide. You cannot do anything with the property afterwards. Then my next question is how can I still be taxed for a $40,000 on a garage with basically a condemned house? Because you're telling me the garage is worth 40 grand, but it can't stand on its own. Does that not seem unfair when we move forward in what we're thinking for laws in this town? Other than that, I got nothing.
I have something to ask too. Mayor, Coleman hasn't come. My name's Tammy Lorzell and I too own that property. When this initially started, David came down and spoke to somebody and he's not so sure who it was. We spoke to several people when this first started and he was told that we would have 6 months to move the garage initially after we tore down the house. And that is not what the paperwork says that he was given to sign yesterday. Actually, it's not 6 months total to tear them both down, and I think that's very unreasonable. So we're asking for 6 months after we tear the house down. The gas has already been shut off from the house. We're waiting for the electric company to come and mark the lines. We have an electrician set up.
Water shut off.
The water's shut off, everything's shut off, but we're going to need at least 6 months after we tear the house down to move the garage to agency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my recommendation would not be to provide any additional time. We do provide 6 months, to not have any zoning code violations in the garage by August 31st, which is, more than 6 months from today. Or well, more than 6 months from when we reach this agreement, I should say. It's a little less than 6 months from today. But yeah, the property's been, placarded since, like I said, August 3rd, 2023. They certainly had an opportunity to make these arrangements a lot sooner than they did. It's certainly in everyone's best interest for them to take the responsibility now rather than have us forget it, but I don't think there's any reason to provide any accommodation beyond that. And as far as whether we could have been able to address other issues in the neighborhood, there's been significant resources wasted in the delay to not take responsibility for this back in 2023.
Is there anybody else that would like to make any comments on this property? If not, I would go ahead and entertain a motion to close the condemnation hearing.
So moved. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Enter agreement to divert condemnation of 953 Tuttle to provide for the owner to complete their own demolition to be completed by April 30th, 2025. Recommendation: approve the diversion agreement between the city of Ottumwa and the property owners of 953 Tuttle.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation? So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes. Is there any other business that needs to come before the Ottumwa Board of Health today? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Ottumwa Board of Health meeting.
Move the recommendation. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes. Okay, the Ottumwa Board of Health meeting is adjourned. We'll go ahead and move forward now with the Ottumwa City Council meeting. If everybody would stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Galloway. Here. Councilmember Hoffman.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here. The next item is our consent agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move the recommendation.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Abstain.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes. The next item is to approve our agenda for tonight's city council meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Move the recommendation.
Two.
Do you have a first and a second?
Well, me personally, that's not what I'm gonna do. There's an item we need to remove from the agenda.
That was a part of
And I
the
would
motion.
I would make a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of that item, it's resolution number 41, 2025.
Is that the, I think, is that the,
Yes.
Yeah, so I have a second, Kara.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
yes.
The next item is our city administrator's report to council citizens, so I'll turn it over to city administrator Phil Rath.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I have a couple of other things I wanted to address, but before I do that, I'd like to call up Dennis Wilhoit, who wants to address the city council about an arts and culture plan to the city of Ottumwa.
Good evening, council. And you have my notes in front of you so that you can make reference after inclusion. I'm Dennis Woolwhite. I'm the Executive Artistic Director for the American Gothic Performing Arts. And I thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today about an important initiative that aligns with the Ottumwa's long-term vision for economic development, social equity, and community vitality. In Ottumwa's 2040 Comprehensive Plan highlights the importance of the arts and culture as a critical investment in the city's future. On page 87, it specifically states that supporting the arts through expanded support and funding for programming, services, and facilities would be a long-term investment in both social equality and economic development. This statement underscores the city's recognition of profound impact that the arts and culture have on our community's vibrancy, inclusivity, and economic growth. The American Gothic Performing Arts would like to be the lead organization in taking the first step toward a strategic plan for the arts and culture in Ottumwa by hiring consultant David Matthew Hensley. Named Public Citizen of the Year in 2017 by the Texas Statewide Division of National Association of Social Workers and a winner of the 2015 Austin Under 40 Award, Dr. Matthew Hensley has worked as a community arts organizer in Central Texas since his arrival in 1996. As Executive Director of Austin Classical Guitar, Dr. Hensley has raised millions of dollars in support of broad concert outreach and educational programming, building the nation's largest classical guitar nonprofit organization. In 2015, he joined the faculty at the University of Texas to teach courses in arts entrepreneurship and business management in the arts. Dr. Hensley was trained as a classical guitarist and vocalist at Interlochen Arts Academy, the Oberlin Conservatory of Music, and the University of Texas at Boston. He's written 6 books: Classical Guitar for Young People, Creativity to Community Arts Nonprofit Success, One Coffee at a Time, and most recently, Tinder and Flint, Brockmore, Meriden, and Dormarian, the first in a series of fantasy novels. The board, just as an anecdote, the board has recently worked with Dr. Hensley in their board retreat and their strategic plan, and utilizing his book Creativity Community that I mentioned before, and had a great experience. Phase 1 of this is what we're talking about tonight. What I'm talking about, an analysis of arts and culture in Ottumwa. This is an initial phase and would involve a week of in-depth stakeholder engagement conducted by Dr. Hensley, including interviews with, but not limited to, city officials and administrators, local artists and arts organizations, business owners and developers, community leaders, and residents. Following these interviews, Dr. Hensley will synthesize the information into a phase 1 analysis report that includes key themes and priorities from the stakeholder conversations, opportunities and challenges for arts and culture in Ottumwa, potential pathways forward, including specific recommendations for further development. This would not be a full-fledged strategic plan yet, but rather a data-driven foundation upon which to build a plan, either through expanding into a phase 2 full-fledged strategic plan or a direct implementation of some of the data points that are reported. What this entails as far as a commitment that American Gothic Performing Arts would like to take on. Dr. Hensley will dedicate 50 hours to this project at the rate of $150 per hour, a flat fee then of $7,500 plus travel expenses, and hotel, which we would estimate at a total then of $9,000. This would be fully funded by private support, and the American Gothic Performing Arts would serve as a fiscal agent if we needed in that process to apply for grants in the process. So the $9,000, I just want to stress, would be privately funded. What I'm asking tonight is endorsement of phase 1, this phase 1 effort, supporting the project as an important step in advancing the city's 2040 vision openness to integrate the findings into future planning efforts, and the city's participation in the interview process to ensure municipal priorities are included. And why this matters, of course, I've mentioned economic development. Arts and culture are proven drivers of economic activity, tourism, and business retention. Community identity and quality of life. A thriving arts scene enhances Ottumwa's appeal as a place to live, work, and visit. And social equity and inclusivity, a strategic approach, ensures diverse voices are represented and supported. This phase one effort will help Ottumwa take a proactive and strategic step towards strengthening its arts and culture sector with no financial burden to the city at this stage. I appreciate your time and your consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to field those for you. With your support in this process, we can ensure that the arts and culture continue to be a cornerstone of Ottumwa's future. I look forward to any feedback you have and working together to make this a reality. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Does council have any questions for Dennis?
I don't have any questions, but I just appreciate you and the American Gothic for wanting to do this and to bring this forward. I think it's great, and I look forward to what it will bring.
I agree with that as well.
I'd like to echo that same sentiment. It's nice when it comes forward with something positive that's good for the whole community. So yeah, it looks like a good plan to me. I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
You said things sliding like that. Oops, it sounds like it.
Doesn't sound like it's long.
No,
We can't hear it. Lights on.
we good? Test.
Bill,
I have to get a tick on it.
It sounds like it's on. Can you hear me now?
Scott, we can't hear Bill.
Working on it.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, let's see, since you can't hear me yet, why don't I bring Cole up? Whoa, okay, sit down. All right, we'll close with your stuff there, is, some of these, notes of the legislature are not as intriguing as, what you have with some of those there. So since the last meeting, a couple of, things, we've been tracking in the legislature. I'm just all over the place here.
I'm like not even touching anything on that. It's
All right.
it's the mind.
Some of the things we've been tracking in the legislature have varying impact on communities, and kind of like we just mentioned there.
How about you take this?
Bill. There we go. Okay. I can reach. Perfect. Okay, there we go. Some of the things that we've been tracking. Maybe it's just me. It's just me. All right. Some of the things we've been tracking in the legislature are the things that could impact our community as a whole. And that is what we talked about with arts and culture. Those are things that are important to a community and things when people are looking for where to live. Yeah, taxes are definitely one of those things that's of interest. But when you look at studies that are out there, it's not the top thing. It may be in the top 5, definitely in the top 10, but it is not the only thing. Quality of life is definitely one of the things that people look at. Public safety, good schools, good roads, those are all things that are there. And before we get too far, yes, we are working on roads, and in the budget, we have more millions of dollars than we have in the past to address some of those things. But quality of life is definitely one of those things as well. And there are some real concerns on the revenue side that could impact cities across the state. And Cole is going to mention some of these in just a moment, that could have a real detriment to us being able to perform the services that we provide, from the mandated things like public safety to the things that help people choose where they want to live, like quality of life, like parks, like recreation, an event center like we have here. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more, and we're doing things that we can to talk with our legislators and make sure that they're understanding the impact that those decisions can have on cities like Ottumwa. Some of the ones that are a little, not as pressing or maybe not as critical, but could have an impact. Solid waste rate caps. One of the things that's being talked about is having a cap on solid waste fees of 102% year over year. Our contract, I believe, is a little bit over 2% per year. Plus, if you take into account if the solid waste fees go up at the landfill, we have to pay those. If the cost of fuel goes up over and above, that is something that gets passed through to having to pay for those rates. So 2% isn't necessarily going to cut it and provide garbage service. It has a potential impact of communities looking to say, we can't afford this. We're not going to provide garbage service. If people want it, they're going to have to contract that out privately. I've seen it happen in other communities where my mom lives, and it's happened. They got rid of garbage altogether, and if you want it, you either bring it to the landfill yourself or you contract a provider. Unfortunately, not everybody is going to pay for garbage service, and you see it start to pile up in garages and other things, which then has another negative impact. Let's see. Public improvement contract fees modifies retention of fees for public improvement contracts by allowing contractors to receive retention funds upon filing a surety bond for claims. Not sure if that's going to be positive or negative, but that's just one of the things that could impact us. Also along the lines of public improvement contracting, allowing government entities in Iowa to reject the lowest responsive bidders for public improvement contracts based on experience and financial capability. This isn't going to necessarily lower the cost, but it does address one of those things where people say, well, why aren't you using local contractors, or why aren't you using this contractor? And when they're not the lowest responsive bid, we don't have that choice. And so that may resolve that to a degree. Could cause some other problems. So when you're trying to decide who you're choosing and you don't have that floor there. Civil Rights Commission referral procedures requires complaints involving political subdivisions filed with local civil rights commissions or agencies be referred to the Iowa Office of Civil Rights, and allows for the transfer of unresolved complaints after 12 months, establishes a 2-year term for commissioners. Stormwater establishes the maximum annual increase of 2% for stormwater drainage system service rates. We don't currently have stormwater fees. If it is ever something that could be an impact there. Property tax system reform bill. This is House File 418. It's a little different than 600, which is going to be mentioned by Cole. This modifies property tax regulations in Iowa by establishing a limitation on the actual value of residential properties for assessment purposes, implementing a gradual increase in assessment limitations for residential properties until they reach 100% by 2034, and adjust property tax levy rates in relation to those changes. The bill aims to provide more predictable property tax assessments and reduce fluctuations in property tax rates. Let's see. And then another one that isn't as pressing, we have golf carts that are able to get a permit and drive through the city. Senate File 333 would prohibit banning the use of golf carts on city streets. That bill would allow people with a valid driver's license to operate golf carts on city streets and prevents local authorities from banning the practice while still requiring safety measures and restrictions. So they would reduce or remove the ability to restrict the use of golf carts on city streets. So that could have an impact on the community. And I'm going to call Cole up. He has put a editorial together on some of the more pressing items.
Thank you, Administrator Rath. Yeah, I wrote this up and plan to submit it to some different newspapers to see how much or any of it will get printed. It is rather lengthy, but I'd like to present it because it does hit on some of the major issues that the Iowa legislature is considering right now. The Iowa legislature has slowly eroded local government's ability to govern themselves. Multiple bills have been introduced that restrict or prohibit local boards and councils from making decisions based upon the wants and needs of their citizens. The bills range from not being able to prohibit golf carts on city streets to making municipal elections partisan. However, the most damaging bills affect municipalities' ability to raise necessary revenues. 2 years ago, House File 718 was signed into law. This bill restricted the growth of property valuations, which was already restricted by other means, and began the elimination of multiple levies cities and counties use to meet the needs of their citizens. The effect is that cities already operating at the bare minimum are forced to make further cuts that will reduce services. Senate Study Bill 1117 will limit annual sewer rate increases to 2% or the CPI, whichever is less. As SB 1190 does the same thing for garbage rates. These essential functions of cities are operated as enterprise funds, meaning they support their operations through fees charged for their services. The problem with the bills is that increases beyond 2% are often needed to meet capital needs or to compensate for operational costs that exceed either 2% or even the CPI. For example, cities face mandated sewer regulations. This may require the building of new facilities or large upgrades to the collection system. Several communities in Iowa built combined sanitary and storm sewers over 100 or more years ago. They are now mandated by the EPA to separate those systems. This has and will continue to cost tens of millions of dollars that can be financed through borrowing, they can only be financed through the borrowing of funds. Rate increases are necessary to pay the debt and would be more than 2%. A city cannot control outside costs for garbage collection. Whether the city operates for contract or contracts for pickup, costs for fuel and dumping can change unexpectedly. In Keokuk, the city-operated collection is going up $1 a month every July 1st for several years in order to meet the increases in landfill fees and capital equipment costs. Ottumwa contracts for collection but must pay a surcharge for increased fuel costs and landfill fees outside of the contract. The surcharges can change from month to month, and those costs will need to be recovered in higher fees. It is also highly unlikely that a garbage hauler would sign a contract with increases capped at 2% or less. So we would have difficulty finding a contractor. The legislature continues to propose additional constraints on local government's largest revenue source, which is property tax. House File 600 would limit property tax levies to an increase of 102% of the levy's 5-year average. Sounds reasonable until you do the math. Cities are allowed to levy as much as needed for property and liability insurance, police and fire retirement, Social Security, IBRS retirement, and other employee benefits and debt service. If this bill was law for the upcoming fiscal year, Ottumwa could not meet the premium increases for property insurance or statutory requirement for police and fire retirement and Social Security and IBRS. The limits on House File 600 do not allow for large cost increases beyond the control of the city. After the 2020 derecho, property insurance rates increased by double digits for 2 years after the storm. Under House File 600, cities would be forced to lower coverages and or raise deductibles, which would lead to greater costs down the road. To make ends meet, cities have turned to the only other source of revenue the legislature has given them, utility franchise fees. The fees can be up to 5% on sales of gas, electric, and cable in a community. The purpose of the fees is to charge the utility for using public right-of-way to make a profit. However, the courts have ruled that the franchise fees are a tax that be passed through to a customer. The public is charged the rent on public property so the utility can make profit. SSB 1181 eliminates franchise fees starting July 1, 2025. For the city of Ottumwa, this would cut $1.6 million from our budget. We are already facing a $1 million shortfall requiring problem cuts to services. The loss of the franchise fees would require us to provide essential services only. Gone would be parks, libraries, code enforcement, among others. Economic development would be almost non-existent. I have attended several conferences over the years where speakers cited polls that show when a business is looking at a location, taxes and utilities are 4th to 5th on the list, while what they're looking for in a site. What ranks higher is quality of life aspects that attract and retain a workforce. I found a poll today online from 2023, and it backs that statement up.
A poll by the Greater Des Moines Partnership shows similar results for residents, and you have a copy of that poll. If the state continues to erode local government's ability to fund the services of its citizens that its citizens want and need, Iowa will suffer. Rural cities struggle to grow while growing communities struggle to keep up. The legislature makes these decisions on our revenues with no contemplation on the effects of service delivery. The state and local governments should be partners and not adversaries. Local governments have long expressed this sentiment and, more often than not, have received a cold shoulder from the legislature. One thing I'd like to add is that SSB 1181 does have a subcommittee meeting tomorrow at 1:30. I forwarded information on how you can join that meeting. Hopefully you can figure out how to raise your hand if you want to comment. I couldn't figure out the last time I was at a subcommittee. My pointer turned into a hand and I kept clicking and clicking and clicking and it did raise. So if you want to say something, hopefully you can figure that out. I plan to jump on that and hear what they have to say. I will say that the chair of the Senate Local Government Committee who authored this bill, among many of the other study bills that we spoke about tonight, Senator Webster from Bettendorf, will probably pass this on to the full committee, regardless of what anybody says. His mission is to get that information out there, get everybody else thinking about it, so if it doesn't happen this session, it happens some other session. Our senator is also on this subcommittee, so any contact with her might help in persuading, if not tomorrow, any future consideration of the bill.
And so these are all important bills and have impact on us. Say this not that we don't need to continue to look at our tax levies, reducing those where we can, and the fee structures that we have. But at the same time, those dollars go to pay for the services that people utilize. They go for the police and fire. They go for engineering, parks, the beach, any of those things, the library now, the event center here. Those are all things that were consolidated and rolled in and reducing that overall general fund levy. And so if we want to continue to provide those services for people, we need to have the revenue to support that. And so there is an impact. Like Cole said, right now, if you want to go back and watch last Tuesday's meeting, it was a budget work session that talked and kind of got down to where Cole was mentioning the $1 million shortfall that we're looking at right now. And staff is continuing to provide ideas and suggestions on either where we could look to increase revenues or cut services and expenditures. Council is coming up with suggestions on those things as well, and we're having those conversations. But that in the end comes down to the services that are provided or not provided as a result. So franchise fees is one of those things that we have a revenue purpose statement, what those fees that come in can be used for. They can be used for capital projects, street projects, infrastructure projects. They can be used to support the general fund, specifically public safety, police and fire. And those are things where Cole's mentioning, a good chunk of that is right now being used to help supplement the general fund budget where we've had to reduce the tax levies and it's being backfilled in those areas. So if that is no longer available for the next budget cycle, that $1 million shortfall is now $2.6 million shortfall. And that is a severe impact. We're looking at about a $20 million general fund budget. That's more than 10% of that budget. So. Yeah.
So I have some prepared comments that I was gonna say at the end, but I think right now would be more appropriate. Is that if I identify or say that?
Yeah, I have one other thing that I wanted to mention, but if it fits with this, then I'm okay. If the mayor's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So I will repeat some stuff, but I'm going to read it how I prepared it. So as a council, I believe we have tried to make decisions that balance fiscal responsibility with the needs of our community. A few years ago, I was part of the council that didn't want to add franchise fees because we knew it would impact our residents, and we didn't take it lightly when we did. But when the legislator passed, House File 718, stripping cities of key funding sources, those franchise fees helped us survive, allowing us to maintain public safety, infrastructure, and essential services. Now the legislator is coming after cities again. Senate Study Bill 1181, which you've just heard about, is nothing short of a direct attack on local governments and the people we serve. The bill would gut our ability to fund public safety, infrastructure, and other essential services. And while the legislator votes to take away our ability to govern effectively, they expect us, the local leaders and city staff, to take the blame when those services disappear. Let me be clear, as you've heard, if this bill passes, our city will lose $1.6 million in critical funding. That is money that pays for emergency services, road repairs, and the basic functions that keep our communities running. We are already facing $1 million shortfall, and hard decisions are already being considered. And now the state wants to take away one of the few tools we have left to balance our budget and to provide for our residents. And when the impacts are felt, because they're going to be felt, when the streets go unplowed, when emergency response times increase, when public safety is compromised, it won't be because of decisions made up at this table or over there or within our city. It will be because Iowa legislators chose to defund our cities while forcing local leaders and city employees to clean up the mess. So I hope that everyone pushes back and talks with their legislators and does talk about the impact of not only Senate Study Bill 1181, but the other ones mentioned tonight. Thank you.
I guess I do want the public to know that I did extend an invitation today to Senator Westridge and Representative Wiltz to attend a city work session sometime during the month of March, and I've already heard back from Representative Hans as clerk with wanting to know what some of the pieces of legislation are that we want to talk about. Some of them have been already discussed tonight. So I hope that they're gonna be willing to meet with us sometime in March. It'll be a work session, so there won't be any decisions made on anything by the council. But it is open, it's an open meeting, so we'll let everybody know when we have that work session with our two local area legislators, cause you can attend a work session because it's an open meeting. So I'm hopeful that they're gonna meet with us this month. Cause I agree with what's been said tonight. I don't think sometimes our legislators really totally understand how this stuff impacts cities and counties at the local level. So we want to make sure they do understand how that's going to impact Ottumwa. So stay tuned and we'll let you know if that work session becomes a reality sometime this month, probably be on Friday afternoon or maybe Saturday morning. We'll have to do it according to their schedule and their availability, but we'll make sure we let the public know you're invited to attend it if you're interested in doing so.
I'll just say one last thing. It's unfortunate when you look across, like, say, the federal government, and I think we could probably all agree that there are some areas of spending that would be less than desirable, and things that aren't necessarily impacting the people in the country that are paying the taxes for those things. That isn't the same. We're not taking dollars from residents in Ottumwa and sending them to Fairfield. We're not, taking the dollars that are spent, they're being spent locally on the services that local residents are looking for and requesting. So that's the downside of it when we look at this. All right. The last thing I wanted to mention, and I'll try to be brief with this, is at the end of last meeting, there were some comments about a memo that I had sent out to, there was the hospital and county and different parties that were part of a discussion for the ambulance service and looking out ahead. So with that, the mayor has sent out a request for a special work session with the city council and the county to talk about ambulance service and the future of ambulance service, whether with Ormex or any other partners in the county. And so that is for next Tuesday, 5:30 at the train depot. And I believe the county is going to participate, or most of the county supervisors and city council. So that will be open. That will also be probably recorded as well. So that if anyone's not able to attend, they can follow back up on that. But there'll be some discussion on looking ahead in the future and any issues and concerns. There is also a a meeting that'll be a larger base meeting. That will be here on April 29th. And that is, the county has called that and invited all the different entities across the county and public officials. So that is for April 29th, and that will have a further discussion of EMS service and what we're looking at. I would say the goal for next week is to kind of help identify any potential issues or concerns with the future of the service that the county and the city share, and working together to try to find a goal or solution for whatever those issues are agreed at. So I just wanted to highlight those meetings coming up.
Thank you, Phil. The next item on our agenda is where I would ask if anybody would like to speak on any of tonight's agenda items. We don't have any of those white forms filled out by anybody, but is there anybody that does want to speak on any of the agenda items tonight during our city council meeting? Okay, if not, we've got 3 public hearings, so we'll move into public hearings.
This is a time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 817 Lee.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe, Zach, you're gonna handle this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I can give the staff summary for the next 2 items all at once, and then we can kind of just proceed through if we want. They're nested subjects. 813 and 817 Lee were acquired by the city and under the vacant lot policy. Rippling Waters has petitioned to purchase those properties for $125, which is the price set for a nonprofit for these lots by that policy. They want to use the 2 lots to build 1 duplex that they would start construction on, and they're hoping this year. The recommendation from staff is to allow them to purchase both lots for $125 apiece.
Does council have any questions on that?
So this is $125 per lot or
Yes.
for both lots?
Per lot.
So this is gonna be more like a stick-built duplex, and it's not gonna be a modular thing like they've done.
Right, they've done some work with that Homes for Iowa where they use the modular, but this would be a fully constructed on-site.
Any other questions from council? Since this is a public hearing, does anybody in the audience have anything they'd like to say regarding 813 or 817 Lee? If not, I would go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 20, 2025, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property in Lot 10, Block 9 of the Clinton Place Edition, locally known as 817 Lee, to Rippling Waters for the sum of $125. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 20, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
I move the resolution.
Second.
I still have a question. Cause the way she read that, it says we're gonna sell it to them for $125.
There's 2 resolutions.
That's, yeah, just for 817, the
Oh
first
my
property.
gosh. Sorry.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 813 Lee.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And Zach, I believe you're gonna handle this.
This is the same as the others, just a second resolution for the same one.
Council have any questions for Zach? If not, does anybody in the audience have any comments or questions regarding 813 Lee? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 22, 2025, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property in Lot 11, Block 9 of the Clinton Place Edition, locally known as 813 Lee, to Rippling Waters for the sum of $125. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 22, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 901 Queen Anne.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and Zach, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a property that the city acquired under Iowa Code Section 657A that empowers us to take title to abandoned property. It's a whole house there at 901 Queen Anne. The city accepted bids until 2 p.m. on February 12th, and 5 bids were submitted. Manny Martinez submitted the best bid in the amount of $17,200, so staff recommends awarding him the bid for the house and selling the property to him for that amount.
Council have any questions for Zach regarding this property? Does anybody in the audience have any questions or comments they'd like to make regarding 901 Queen Anne? If not, I'd go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution number 37, 2025, accepting the offer and approving the sale of 901 Queen Anne, Wapello County, Iowa, to Manny Martinez for the sum of $17,200. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 37, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation. Sorry, here.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. I will just say we do have an open house for another property that's for sale this Thursday, and we just put the bid packet out today for a third, so we have a couple more properties coming up through this process.
And where can people find information about that?
Yeah, they are available on the website. We also have the packets in our office, and Travis puts the houses on Facebook as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to ordinances. We have 2 ordinances to consider tonight.
Ordinance number 3241, 2025, amending the City of Ottumwa, Iowa Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Elections to adopt the nomination by petition manner of elections provided for by Iowa Code, Chapter 45, for the City of Ottumwa city elections in accordance with Iowa Code, Chapter 376, and thus cease holding city primary elections. Recommendation pass the second consideration of ordinance number 3241, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second. And I believe, Chris, you're gonna handle this?
An awful lot of reading. This is the second consideration of ordinance number 3241, 2025. Essentially, I think I talked last time about this is just gonna eliminate the primaries. Iowa Code Section 376.6 subsection 1 requires that a primary election be held for city offices where the number of individuals for whom valid petitions have been filed is more than twice the number of positions to be filled, unless a city chooses by ordinance to hold runoff elections pursuant to Iowa Code Section 376.9 in lieu of primary elections, or a city chooses by ordinance to have candidate nominations made in the manner provided in either Iowa Code Chapter 44 or Iowa Code Chapter 45. Pursuant to Iowa Code Section 376.6 subsection 1, where a city chooses by ordinance to have a candidate nominations made in their manner provided in either Iowa Code Chapter 44 or Iowa Code Chapter 45, neither a primary election nor a runoff election is required. The City of Ottumwa, Iowa desires the candidate nominations for elective city offices to be made in the manner provided in Iowa Code Chapter 45, and that the city not be required to hold either primary elections or runoff elections in accordance with Iowa Code Chapter 376. So this past year, we held a primary on August 13th with the estimated cost of $7,600. A special for our local option sales tax public measure was held September 10th. And then the election estimated cost was $4,000, and then a general November 5th election. So voter turnout was low for both the primary and the special elections. So we will have 3 council seats and 1 mayor seat coming up for election this year. So this would, if it's voted through, it would be in place prior to that, so.
Does council have any questions for Chris? like she said, this is the second consideration.
Yes, we have already talked about it and different ideas have been put out, and I don't really have anything new, but just wish our voter turnout was higher, then we wouldn't be talking about this.
And hopefully if the city does go and do away with primary elections and everybody has to vote at the general election, hopefully there will be more people come out and vote.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Any other questions from council? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a recommendation that we dispense with the third reading of this ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Ordinance number 3243, 2025, amending the municipal code of the city of Ottumwa, Iowa by amending section 3114 subsection A entitled Fees and Charges Costs by repealing and replacing ordinance number 3239, 2025. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance number 3243, 2025.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell.
We need a first and a second.
Say the recommendation.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
I would move to approve the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell, now you can go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the February 18th council meeting, the council passed and adopted ordinance 3239, 2025, increasing sewer fees. At that meeting, staff presented a revised version of the ordinance, extending the rate increase to 2034. The ordinance had an error in rates calculated for July 1, 2029, causing errors in each subsequent year thereafter. In consultation with legal counsel, it determined that the corrected ordinance should be presented back to the council for consideration. The error was presented to us by legal counsel. In the original ordinance, we caught that error before the shortened version was presented to council. We didn't catch it when the revised version was sent. Staff had requested that the second and third readings of the ordinance be waived in order to keep phase 3 on track. The council did waive those readings and adopt the ordinance. Staff makes the same request for this ordinance tonight.
Any questions from council for Cole?
One thing I think of is finance director and all, if you could make it just clear what's the main reason, again, just a few words.
This is an order to finance the SRF loan. Well, the first set of 5 increases of 6.5% are to help finance the SRF loan that is for phase 3, and that is up to $16 million. Phase 4, we hope to be able to pay from reserves without additional borrowing. Phases 5 and 6 will require additional borrowing. So that's why we are then, after 2029, requesting a 4% increase for thereon out till 2034. This is all related to sewer separation, while at the same time being able to maintain our operations. If there was another way of doing this, we certainly would. It's not ideal to come to the council and ask for these sizable increases, but we really don't have a choice. One of the things we did calculate what the effect of the 6.5% increase would be starting July 1 on 2 different types of households. What I would call a minimal user, which was 3 units. Units are about 750 gallons each. So you're talking about 2,100 gallons. The increase would be $2.38 a month. For a more of a larger typical household, maybe a family of 4, using twice as much. So now you're using about 4,200 gallons, 6 units. the increase was twice that, so it would have been, I can't do the math in my head real quick, but you're looking at like $4.80 or so a month.
Council have any questions for Cole? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Does council want to make a recommendation to approve the second and third readings?
Yes, Your Honor, I approve that recommendation.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I guess I would just kind of push back, just a little bit, because I understand this has come last time, then come back because we had to, reapprove it, but it is a fee, and I do think that we should at least have one more to allow people to come and speak if they do want to speak on it. And I understand it's on public hearing, but still.
It's been moved and seconded, so we'll have to vote on it. So Chris will take the roll.
I agree with Galloway, by the way.
Wendy as well. Well, then vote accordingly. Nobody has to. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
No.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
No.
Councilmember Reed,
No.
Councilmember Galloway,
No.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yep. What?
Yes.
The only question I have with this, by delaying this for another reading, is this gonna significantly delay, get phase 3 off track, Cole?
That's a question for, Public Works Director Bergmeyer. We've already started, so
Perfect.
no stopping it now.
Does council want to vote again?
In other words, you don't need our permission. I'm just gonna ram it forward.
I think
Okay.
you're allowed to incur costs before this particular item is finished. But
Well, the
if it
first
doesn't,
time you did waive the second and third considerations.
don't get me wrong, if we don't pass it, it puts the road in jeopardy.
Yeah, this is required in order to get the SRF. Without the ordinance passing, we would not get the SRF. We have to prove to the DNR, we have the capacity to meet our obligation.
So if council waits to reconsider this at the March 18th city council meeting, is that gonna be extremely detrimental or not?
According to Public Works Director Bergmeyer, no.
Okay.
I think we already decided people get a chance to speak, but we should stick to that. I mean, and then we could still hear it and approve it that same meeting, right? We can still hear citizens and still.
We have two more considerations. Second and third.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like I said,
They
if
could
we have
speak,
one
but
more.
we could waive the one.
Maybe that's a question for the attorney.
Logan, did you hear that? You want to weigh in on that?
As far as the procedure,
Delaying the second consideration to the March 18th meeting, is that gonna jeopardize the funding? If we wait for a couple more weeks?
I'm not familiar with the process related to the SRF loan. Unfortunately, that's a specific question for the city's bond council. I don't have a good answer for you.
Okay. Well, it'll be on the agenda for the March 18th city council meeting, at least for the second consideration, and the council can go from there, decide if they want a third one or not. Okay,
Your Honor, could I ask Mr. Cole if he could have presented that final information before we actually voted on that? It might have changed somebody else's mind, so I'm not reprimanding you, I'm just suggesting.
I'll take that under consideration, thank you.
okay. We have no departmental board or commission recommendations or reports tonight, so we'll move to the 8 resolutions that we have.
Resolution number 12, 2025, approving updates to city personnel policies. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 12, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Motion to approve. Second.
Chris will take the roll. No, Barb, sorry.
That's okay, thanks, sir. So this is, there are 5 different updates to the personnel policy. They are highlighted in the actual policy itself, but then you also have a summary of what those are. A lot of them are just updates to the, like, just corrections or things. Article 6, the residency requirements. What we added in there is that an employment contract may have a provision regarding residency requirements. We do have one in one of our collective bargaining agreements, and then in the city administrator's contract, there is a residency requirement, so that is just added into the personnel policy to match what that contract is. Nepotism, I'll get to that in just a moment. Article 8, overtime and compensation time, compensatory time. What we found here was during our payout, when we did in February, when we did a payout of comp time that was over our allowances, there was just some wording that was in there that we needed to change to make it again reflect what was also in our collective bargaining agreements and what has been common practice. So there is nothing, no employees are hurt by this, there's nothing, it's just again, keeping it consistent. Benefits, Article 11, again, no changes here. The holidays and the sick time, this is again aligning with the contract. You had approved previously a Scribner's error in the contract itself, and so this is just identifying that also in our personnel policy. And then Article 18, the accident review, we have a new accident review form that our department heads and our safety committee have reviewed and they have updated, and we have that now listed to UKG for our employees to use. So this just notifies and talks about that. The one big update is the nepotism policy, and we had received a request to review the nepotism policy. So City Administrator Rath had asked HR to take a look at that and see what other cities have been doing. We consulted with our legal counsel as to what was out there to maybe make it not so restrictive and leaving it as an option to have it a case-by-case basis be reviewed by our city administrator. So what we have created is upon recommendation from a department head to go to the city administrator would review that recommendation. If there was a decision to hire possibly somebody of the same family in the same department, there is a waiver that we would fill out, there is an action plan that we would come together, again, to try and mitigate everything that we could for nepotism.
In case somebody doesn't actually know what you're talking about when you talk about nepotism, can you just give a real brief definition of what you're talking about?
Yeah, so, and we actually updated it in the personnel policy as well, that the city does strive to not hire people of the same family to work within the same departments. Iowa code is actually defined by the 3rd degree of consanguinity is the word. And it is the 3rd degree, which is essentially first cousins, great aunts, great uncles, grandmas, grandpas, stepbrothers, sisters, in-laws, marriage, anything like that. That's what nepotism is. So the policy still follows that, but again, it just relaxes it just a touch enough to let the city administrator look at each case individually and make a decision from there. We have got in some of our departments, we've got areas where we can assign people different shifts. So maybe they do work the same, they are from the same family, but they could work different shifts. We've got the opportunity to add maybe another layer that's in there, remove any type of supervisory or anything like that. So there are some options that we do have, and this provides the city administrator with that option.
And the city is always trying to make sure that there's never been a situation where a relative is supervising another relative, correct?
Yes, sir.
Does the council have any questions for Barb regarding these changes in the personnel policies?
I do, I just wanna go back and clarify too, so cause sometimes we hear, and maybe other council people, we've heard people come to the podium before and say, you know, we don't know of changes in the handbook or, things are being changed. But this change actually came to you because there were staff that came to you, correct?
Correct.
Staff have the ability to review and say, hey, may not be working for our department. And they could talk to, if it's not a direct supervisor, their supervisor, and ask to have things reviewed too.
Absolutely. Yes, this was an actual request from It was from a department head who requested and went to City Administrator Rath, and then he brought it to HR to review.
Great, thank you.
The other good thing that Barb does is anytime the council's approved any of these personnel changes, she always puts it in the HR update every month, so staff are well versed and well informed about these changes, and it's up to them to kind of look it up and read it to make themselves familiar with it, so she
And then-
tries real hard to make sure the staff are always aware of any personnel changes that have been made and approved by the council.
Annually, we also put it out, and have all employees sign that they acknowledge, not that they agree with, but that they understand and they know what those changes are.
Did they come out to staff or maybe department heads prior to coming out too? So like, if like this policy, would it have come to the department heads and said, heads, this is what we're looking at changing to?
Yes. Yeah, what we try and do is, prior to any policy coming to you, well, we try and get it out to the affected staff. So this was discussed at our department head meeting. Actually, once we had got the policy drafted and had it been done by legal review, we actually sent it to the department head and spoke with the department head that had requested this to make sure that that alleviated any concerns that they had had, and that that would be a fix for what they were talking about, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council for Barb? Dan, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just think that case by case review is a good idea. You got a good worker, and then they happen to have a family member, he's probably gonna be a good worker too, he or she. So I think it's a good to have a review instead of just a blanket no.
Right, and then the only thing I would add is the case by case basis. I know there's already a plan for this, it's just a consistent.
Yep.
You know, just.
Any other comments or questions from council?
I was just gonna say that there's a form to request that and then a process to, look at an action plan if there are.
Right, and I just brought that up so people watching would know that there is a consistent plan instead of, you know, just, oh, that's my favorite answer. You know,
Yeah.
like there's a consistent.
We have, what we've actually done is we've put together a waiver form that both employees sign, as well as the department head and the city administrator. Based on the information that's on there, if we decide that we need a conflict of interest management plan, there's a management plan as well. This may not be used every single time like this, but if there is some type of conflict or anything like that, we've got this on file, both employees sign it, department head signs it, so that way if everybody is aware and everyone knows.
Any other comments, questions from council? Not, Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway, Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barb.
Resolution number 35, 2025, awarding a contract for asbestos abatement and demolition of a condemned property at 1550 Maple to Torres Construction in the amount of $17,000. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 35, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
move the recommendation.
Okay, Zach.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Bids we received for asbestos removal, demolition, and cleanup of 1550 Maple until 2 p.m. on February 20th. 4 bids for asbestos and 4 for demolition were received, and Torres Construction submitted the best bid in the amount of $17,000. The staff recommends awarding for the contract.
Council have any questions for Zach?
And that was just for the asbestos abatement, right?
And the demolition of,
And demolition, okay.
and leveling of the lot.
Not sure they've done well before, when they've done work.
Yeah, they've done a couple of these, they carry the certification.
Any other questions from council? If not, Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes,
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway, Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution number 36, 2025, awarding the contract for asbestos abatement and demolition of the condemned property at 424 Waverly to Torres Construction in the amount of $8,250. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 36, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
All right, thank you. This is the same process. The asbestos abatement and demolition bids are received for 424 Waverly until 2 p.m. on February 20th. We received 4 demolition bids. In this case, the property is so severely fire damaged that it's not safe to separately abate asbestos and then do the demolition. So in these cases, the contractor has to treat the entire structure as asbestos contaminated and demolish it according to what they have to do with handling asbestos, but for the entire thing. So they'll have to keep the entire thing wet as they're working with it. They'll have to put it in a lined container and everything like that for the whole structure. So a lot of times those bids end up being very high. Torres Construction bid this one very, very competitively low, bid $8,250, and we recommend awarding.
Council have any questions for Zach regarding this property?
And I do, so to clarify, if Torres Construction were to spend more than that, they could not come back for a change order, correct?
No, they wouldn't be able to come back for a change order just because they found out that it cost me a little more than I thought it would. But the only reason we've ever done change orders for these projects is if some new material or some new circumstance that changes what they knew about the contract when they bid it could come up. But there's nothing that we would anticipate here when they're treating the whole thing as asbestos contaminated. And he has been making arrangements with Water and Hydro to use fire hydrant water. You'll pay a deposit and you'll have to use some of their equipment, but he's planning to use the fire hydrant water to further the work. I don't know if if he factored that and was able to reach a lower number for that reason. But we did talk about, it was quite a bit lower, and he said he was lower on purpose. He knew he was good. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council?
Tell me what they do with that waste that has the asbestos in it as well as the demolished part of the house. What do they do with that? Does it go to the dump?
It all goes to the landfill, and they have to go by appointment because we have to pre-dig a hole where they can put that waste and then immediately cover it up so it doesn't go on the pile with the rest of the waste. So there's also a higher fee associated with asbestos contaminated material. But the city pays the fee on this at the city county rate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? If not, Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes. Thanks, Zach.
Resolution number 39, 2025, setting April 1st, 2025 at 5:30 PM as the date for a public hearing on the fiscal year 26 proposed property tax levy. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 39, 2025.
Your motion to approve the recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell, it's all yours.
Thank you. This is the first of 2 public hearings to be held for the proposed, and is for the proposed property tax levy, which is $20.99.396, which is a 0.89% increase over the current tax levy of $20.8779. This result is a 3% increase in tax revenue received. The public hearing must be its own meeting and be scheduled at least 30 minutes before the start of the regular meeting. Staff is recommending April 1, 2025 at 5:30 PM at the Bridgeview Center. Prior to the public hearing, the city will submit the proposed tax rate to the Iowa Department of Management in order for the city's information to be combined with other taxing entities for the county auditor to be able to send out the truth in taxation notices on March 20th. Following the holding of the proposed tax levy hearing, the public hearing on the total budget will be set for the first, we set it to April 1st meeting to be held April 15th.
That's for the city's total budget, right, for FY 26?
Yes, that is when we will consider the total levy and certify the tax rate for the auditor.
Does council have any questions for Cole?
The 5:30 PM for this meeting meets the requirements for time frame.
Yes, and then the regular meeting will be scheduled to start at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
So if things hold to past history, we'll be done about 6:35, 6:40, unless we happen to have actual people show up to comment, which could then take longer. But 6:30, 6:40, and then you have to wait until 6 o'clock to start the regular meeting.
Okay,
5:30. Or 5:30, yeah, 5:30. And then it starts.
I knew what you meant.
Council have any other questions for Cole? If not, Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway. Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution number 40, 2025, authorizing the mayor to execute 4 permanent sewer easements and 2 temporary sewer easement agreements for construction of public improvements for the Lakes Branch Phase 8 Division 3 Sewer Separation Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 40, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Philip?
Thank you. So in order to construct and maintain parts of the Phase 8 Division 3 storm and sanitary sewer collection system, the attached easements are required. Staff has met and worked with these property owners, explaining in detail their planned improvements. The temporary easements are only in effect during construction and are in place to ensure there's adequate space to work, while the permanent sewer easements remain in place in perpetuity. Hard word. And allows for future maintenance and upkeep of the utility infrastructure.
Council have any questions for Philip?
So they get to continue to use their property, I mean, it's.
Yeah, the only, like, on the permanent easement, it's usually written that if they wanted to put a shed or like a big tree above it, they have to ask permission from the city first. You can't build a house or anything on top of these easements anymore, but, you know, fences and landscaping, you know, stuff like that, a toy structure for your kids, we would allow something like that.
It doesn't affect their taxes, it doesn't reduce their taxes at all,
They're-
they still own this full property.
Yeah, they still own the property, they're paid for the easement, so.
Any other questions from council for Philip? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution number 42, 2025, approving a demolition and controlled burn agreement with between the city of Ottumwa and the Ottumwa Community School District. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 42, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Phil, I believe you're gonna take this.
Yes, General Mayor, excuse me. So the Ottumwa School District has purchased property within a project area for the district. They had requested the assistance of the fire department for the city of Ottumwa in demolition of the properties through a controlled practice burn. District has agreed to repair the properties ahead of the practice burn, and the attached agreement identifies the expectations of the entities related to that request. So we are allowed, is it 2 per year? We can do 2 controlled burns per year, per our, agreement with DNR. Outside of that, we need to remove the shingles, make sure there's, no asbestos in the property, and then we could be eligible to do more than those 2. So the school district has agreed that they would prepare the properties, making sure that the shingles are removed, the asbestos is taken care of, anything else to prep the houses and qualify for that. Because of the proximity of the homes, they'll be burned together or at the same time, and be able to be used for the practice for the fire department staff. Once those are burned, then the site would have to be cleared and prepared for the future use of what the school district is looking to do with those properties. So there's a benefit for us, benefit for them. Our attorney has prepared this agreement. School district has signed off on it, and it's before you for similar consideration.
Fire department's reviewed the plan.
Yeah, the chief has, Chief Cantor has identified a couple of things that were of question, so I'll get those clarified, but the agreement should take care of all of those things.
Cleaning up and clearing the lot is the responsibility of the city.
Yeah, so I think similar to what we saw here, if we need to get somebody to, that there won't be any asbestos that ought to be removed, it'll just be making sure that everything is leveled and that the site is leveled and secure for, you don't have to worry about people falling into a hole or anything like that.
So they'd have to take out the foundation, any foundation material would have to be pulled out of the ground. Or,
Chandelier.
generally, yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work.
So
That's, we pay for that foundation.
Per the agreement, yeah, that's one of the things that, be like on our cost, but, we get the, future benefit of the property school district, of what they're doing with that too, so.
So our control burns, the 2 a year, are they fiscal or are they, like January? Yeah, thank you.
Calendar year.
Any other questions for Phil?
I was just saying, and these wouldn't count towards those two because they're being prepared and taken care of the, yeah.
So we're gonna burn our two resumes. I get it.
Any other questions for Phil from council? If not, Chris, take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 43, 2025, authorizing the removal of special assessments applied to 126 South Cooper, 422 North Wapello, and a vacant lot on Hackberry, all contained within resolutions 199, 2024, and 200, 2024. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 43, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This resolution gives special assessments on 3 properties. 2 of them are similar to the property we had on Queen Anne. Last council meeting, we removed special assessments for that property because we were preparing to sell it. That's the case for 422 North Wapello and 126 South Cooper. The city acquired both of those in December, and we're working on getting those sold. In our program of selling the 657A houses, we prefer to sell them with no outstanding debts so that we can, build trust that we know what's there and that people are buying a property free and clear. And so we want to remove those special assessments and then hope that we'll get the best bids possible on those properties by being transparent like that. The largest share of these assessments is for 126 South Cooper. That one had an extremely frustrating owner. We had to do quite a bit of nuisance abatement cleanup, totaling $5,390. The one on North Wapello is just for delinquent mowing fees, $750. And then the final property is a vacant lot on Hackberry that the school district's acquired. It also has $755 for delinquent mowing fees that have been assessed on resolution 200. And they've asked us to remove those fees as well. I'm sorry, resolution 199. So all 3 of those properties would have the fees abated by this resolution. Also, looking at the resolution, I just noticed that somehow I spelled track. So we'll probably want to update the document before we have the mayor sign it tomorrow.
Council have any questions for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
The next item on our agenda is public forum, and I believe Chris has something she's going to read.
We now open the public forum portion of the agenda. We invite anyone from the audience who has completed a citizen input request form, residents, property owners, and business owners who wish to address the council on any subject, as with the earlier public comment period. At this time, we are here as a council to listen. Council cannot deliberate on any items brought to their attention during the open forum. However, they can request that your item be placed on an upcoming agenda or connect you with the appropriate city personnel to assist. As a reminder, city council members and city staff are accessible before or after meetings.
Did we have anyone in the audience that wants to speak on any non-agenda items this evening?
Did you have to call the forum to speak?
You're supposed to, but if you haven't, we'll.
This is a quick.
Okay, go ahead. Identify yourself and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Isaac Mills. My address is 170 Volga Avenue. I'd just like to make a comment that I met with the new CEO of the Ottumwa Regional Hospital. He is here, he's his first 2 weeks. He's pretty new, and I asked him if he'd met with any city officials, and he said no. Now, with what he said, he seems to have a pretty good head on his shoulders. And I think it'd be important, and I'd recommend for all of you to meet with him, because regardless of the status, or the current status of the hospital, it still plays a large part in our community and as a part of local economic growth. He seems to want to hire the right people, fire the wrong ones. And I think it'd be important for all of you to meet with him for the simple fact that, again, the hospital plays a large role in this community. And if we could get a better public and positive image of the hospital, I think it'd be good for our community as well. So I think it'd be great for all of you to meet him, ask him questions. Maybe you can answer them in a positive aspect, and thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Scott, did you want to speak? Identify yourself and your address.
Get that, Scott Holgren, I'm the director here at Bridgeview Center at 11-6 Elmer Drive. On behalf of Bridgeview Center, and just really want to let the council know, but I really just wanted to say thank you and let our appreciation know to my fellow colleagues and friends, that Public Works, Police Department, Fire Department, they participated in our Family Fest event last Saturday. It was a wonderful event. It's one event that Bridgeview Center put together for us to get back to the community one day a year. The other 364 days of the year, we're out asking the community to buy tickets to attend our events. We're asking businesses to rent us, couples that are wedding reception with us, but we're always asking, everybody. So this is one day out of the year that we do a free event. It costs nothing for families to come down here. We give back. This year we added a front end loader and a snowplow from Public Works. Got great reviews. All the kids love seeing the big, John Deere front end loader and the snowplow really up close, and how it works. Your staff did great. All the staff did great. So just want the public thank them for their support. I know some, volunteered their time to be here, and so we're really appreciative of that. The other nice thing I thought I'd share is this week we've grown our community by about 30 folks that have been with us since last Saturday, Sesame Street Live. We have Big Bird, Cookie Monster, Oscar the Grouch, Abby, Elmo, and others that are residing in our theater since Saturday. They will be on stage for the first ever premiere showing of their 2025 US tour. We'll be seeing right here on our BBC stage at 6 o'clock on Thursday night. So certainly would love to invite the public and all of you to come down. It's been great having them here. We get to show them an old-fashioned Iowa blizzard tomorrow. But all they have to do is walk from the cobblestone. It's about 100 feet to our stage door. It works out perfect. So they'll just have to bundle up for about a 100-foot walk, and then they can stay inside. So anyway, again, thank you for all your help during Family Fest. We really do appreciate it on behalf of our entire team.
Is there a fee for the public to attend that event?
There is. Sesame Street, tickets I believe start at $24.75, I believe, and they go up to like $44.75. Well worth it. You don't have to drive to Cedar Rapids. You don't have to drive to Des Moines. You don't have to drive anywhere. You can get to see it right here in your own backyard.
And this is a national show. I mean, this
is national tour. And they're playing theaters that obviously are far larger. As I shared an email, I think last week, we're kind of kicking the tires a little bit in our theater. We love doing shows like this. It really does push the boundaries a little bit. We all do it safely and everything like that, but we have a lot of gear over there. I'd be happy to show anyone, what's going on next door, but they bring in a lot of stuff because what the setup that we'll see here is the same setup like they would do in the Fox Theater in St. Louis, the Orpheum up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, any major Broadway house across the country.
Special rates for children?
No, all tickets are the same price.
Okay.
And the tickets are well worth the price for the show.
They are, yes. It's a great production.
Yeah, it is a national show. We're very lucky to have them here for their debut for the year.
Yep.
I still remember when I went to Sesame Street as a kid. That's all I have to say. It was great. And I think everyone should go. And Big Bird is the best.
No, Big Bird's not the best. That little Grover fella.
Thank you, Scott.
The next item is the Mayor City Council report and/or communications. I guess the one thing that I would like to state again, and I know I've mentioned this before, but people can see that the next several years is going to be challenging for cities and counties to be able to operate and keep the revenues at a level where drastic cuts don't have to be made to core services. And with the mayor's position and 3 city council seats coming up for election this fall, I really hope that we'll have people who are strategic thinkers and visionary people run for those positions. We really need people that are going to be willing to think outside the box and try and help the city continue to struggle with some of the things that the state legislature continues to seem to want to do to cities and counties. So we're trying to talk about this enough in advance that hopefully we'll get some people that have never chosen to run for public office before, take that initiative and try and run for public office and try and help continue to make a difference. And we're all here to make Ottumwa bigger and better, and we want a positive and thriving community, and it takes a lot of people to make that happen. So being on the city council, you do get to vote on all these key issues. So city council people really do make a dramatic impact on the future direction of the city. So just kind of wanted to put that out there again, and hopefully we'll get some positive thinkers to go after the mayor's job and the city council this fall. Does anybody have any other communications that they'd like to
No,
make to the public?
I'd just like to add on to what you say, and I will say this every time. Even if I kind of get blasted for it, I mean, we do need all good quality candidates to run for city council. However, I'll just lay it on the line. If you're out to clean house, if you're out to just get someone, if you're out that you're gonna fix it, you're not the right candidate. If you want to be part, even if you don't agree with the decisions that are being made, at the end of the day, it's about 25,579 citizens in this city, and it's what's best for them. So, you know, if you wanna sit up here, my only thing is in your heart that you actually care about Ottumwa. Not care just because you're mad at somebody, or care just because you think nobody's doing a good job. I faced challenges. This is the end of my first year, and I faced challenges I never thought I would face. So it is a different story when you get in this chair. So, you know, my challenge would be is even if you disagree with some of the things that are being ran, want to be part of the team that makes it better. Don't get on the team that just wants to clean house. Be positive about Ottumwa and be positive about your community and just want to be part of that team. I mean, bring new ideas, bring your vision. That's great, but keep it positive.
Any other communications?
So first I want to address a rumor that's going around, and I have been approached by many people, I have been emailed, I have been called. I am not resigning and I am not moving. I just want to put that out there. So, I have been asked that more than, 30 times, no joke. So I'm just putting that out there. The other thing I do want to address is, Administrator Rath touched on this a little bit, but at the end of last meeting, we did have someone address and say that talk about the email that Administrator Rath sent to a large amount of community partners and a large other elected officials about trying to start continue the discussion on EMS services and ensuring that the city of Ottumwa and city leaders were at that meeting. And I really want to thank Administrator Rath because in that person that addressed the council identified that we were leaving people out of the table. But Administrator Rath has done a good job to try to get city leaders at the table to the council to understand what is going on with EMS services. So I really appreciate what he's doing. And I'll express some frustration because when we're up here saying that we're leaving people out of the discussion and then there's meetings happening later in the week where council members are not being invited, some are, but others aren't when to the same conversation or to a meeting about what was discussed, then we're not being put at the table. And, you know, the city does take some blame with some things, but this is something I think that we have tried to be at the table to have discussions. We want to work together, we want to find solutions, and we want to be on the same page as everyone. But again, if we're going to say we want everyone at the table, then everyone that needs to mean it. And so I just want to say again, thank you to the mayor and to Administrator Rapp for working to ensure that we're informed and that we are at the table when important discussions like EMS services for the community are being discussed.
And that goes along with what I just said. At the end of the day, the sentiment up here is whatever gets the best emergency care to your doorstep in the least amount of time is what's important.
Anybody want to make any other comments or communications to the public?
I'll just make one more quick on Isaac coming up. I appreciate you coming up and speaking, but 2 council members did meet the CEO. The 3 of us was not invited to that meeting, so that's where part of the frustration. There's always another side of the story. So I haven't met him because I wasn't invited to the party that ultimately the council's gonna vote on. So, all I got, so. Easy going out.
Any other comments, communications that anybody wants to make?
Oh, the sports complex is open
Yes, it is.
and free play too. Go on Facebook or, go visit the sports complex. There's some free play, so you can go check it out.
I believe they're planning a ribbon cutting on March 26th at 3:00.
Awesome.
Okay, if there's no other communications from council to the public, I will go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn our city council meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Chris and Victor roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
We are adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for attending tonight's city council meeting, and safe travels home.